Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're connecting from. It's such a pleasure being able to come into this space, share this space with you. If you are here live, let me know that you're joining live. Drop a hello in the chat. If you are watching the replay, thank you very much for coming back and listening to today's conversation. It always means a lot whenever I see the engagement in the chat, whenever I see those comments on the live after it would have ended. It certainly lets me know that these conversations are having a meaningful impact on your life, a meaningful impact when it comes to how you're showing up, and of course, your personal style. Welcome to today's episode of Style to Impact Live. Before I start these conversations, I like to start with a wellness check in. It's just to take a moment to reflect, to see how we're feeling, to see what is it we need right now to show up as our best self. What is it we need to be able to show up intentionally and our best selves? I know, like I've said this to a friend of mine. It feels like every day for the last 3 years that we've been dealing with some form of crisis, either a global crisis or a crisis that's happening in our homes, in our personal life, at work. It just feels like a lot. The world feels like a lot. I don't know about you, but for me, it feels like a lot. And it's like, can I just get a moment just to breathe and be and have some form of peace? If you're feeling that way, I want to leave you with this quote that it's actually a tweet that I saw on Twitter. I'm trying to remember the name of the person that posted. I do have it, but I actually have this. I saved it as my screen. I created a screensaver for my phone on it because I needed that reminder. And so I want to share this with you as, you're going through whatever challenges that you're having and you're just in need of some form of peace. I want you to remind you of this quote. It says, "Trust your past. Every time you thought that you wouldn't get through it, you did. And this moment is no different." Like when I saw that, I felt it to my core. When I repeat it, I'm feeling it to my core because it speaks to so much of the courage and strength and resiliency that I need right now. And having, feeling a sense of peace, it does create a sense of calm for me. And I hope that it brings some comfort to you as you navigate the challenges that you're having, if you do have any. If you're new to this space, I'm Solita Roberts. I'm the founder of Style to Impact. And my mission and my belief is that representation is not just you being in the room or having a seat at the table, but it's also how you show up, right? It's important that you're able to show up as your authentic self. And so it's this belief that really drives the work that I do as an image stylist, as a speaker, as a workshop facilitator, in helping women, specifically women of color, create a personalized style, embrace more of who they are as individuals, celebrate who they are as individuals, and have a image and a style that really allows them to show up authentically and confidently. And so these women that I work with are women who are leading, who are ready to lead successful businesses, right? They're ready to change the world, and they're ready to finally feel as confident and fierce on the inside as they do on the as they feel as confident and fierce on the outside. It's all about the outside matching the inside. And so if that's you, let's connect. Last week, if you were here live or you watched the replay, you would have noticed last week's conversation was around. I talked about how women, like removing the mask that we wear as women when we show up into these different spaces, believing not just on our own limiting belief, but also what society may have said to us, that in order to be successful, in order to have the impact, in order to have the promotion, in order to run successful businesses, that we have to show up a certain way, right? And if we don't fit into that stereotype as to what success and professional looks like, then we lose opportunities, right? If you haven't been able to watch that conversation as yet, it's here. You can watch the replay here on LinkedIn. Just go to my profile. LinkedIn has made it super easy for you to go back and watch events. Like, just go on my profile and it give you an option that says events, and you will see the live from last week. There, you can watch it there. If you are on YouTube, you can watch it there on YouTube as well. I do have a YouTube channel, which is Style to Impact Live. Don't talk about it much, but I do broadcast live to YouTube as well. So you can go ahead and watch that last week's video there as well. And so I wanted to continue that conversation where as I said, I talked about last week of, you know, removing the mask and stepping into your full and authentic self, showing up as yourself. I wanted to continue that conversation today on what it means to put your authenticity into action, what it means to being a change agent to dismantling image bias for women in the workplace, women in the world, right? What does that mean? For me, authenticity in action means getting into good trouble, right? If you have heard John Lewis talk about getting into good trouble, it's that is what it is for me. Getting into good trouble in that you're not afraid to challenge the status quo. You're not afraid to say, I do not support and I am going to speak out against this, right? You are someone who looks at the world and the impact or the biases that women face, and realizing that it's not up to everyone else to change and create the world that we need, but you also play a part in that, right? The things that you do and how you show up and the actions that you take, all those small steps as women, if we do that together individually, stand in our power, stand in our authenticity, then we're able to shift the needle. We're not going to be talking about, right, women equal pay and we need to break that, or gender bias or image bias and these different biases that women face in the workplace. It's in our control as well, right? We have that power to be able to say, I am not going to live by this standard of expectation as to who I should be and how I should show up as a woman in the workplace. And I'm going to champion and support other women who want to feel empowered to be themselves, right? Because being a change agent requires stepping into your courage, requires you showing up, being more visible, being more of an advocate, being someone who just, as I said, just is tired of conforming and towing the line and going along to just get along, right? And so it's also shifting. It requires action, it's going from not just listening to learn. Like, we're not just listening, you're not just listening to what I'm saying today to say, oh, I learned something, thank you, Salida, for sharing this with me, but listening, learning, and then taking action to create the change, right? And that's what I want to challenge you as you listen to today's conversation, is to really look for those instances where you can now take action, because without action we cannot create the changes that we need. And so, what does appearance bias or image bias means? What does image bias means? Image bias, when you Google and you search and see what image bias is, just to give you a small short definition of that, is the tendency to make assumptions about a person based on their appearance. I'm going to challenge you here. How many times, or think back to your interactions that you have had recently, When have you made an assumption about someone based on their appearance? Right? Whenever we think of image bias and the assumptions that we make, if you're wondering like what are some of these assumptions, like I'm not sure, like, or what the impacts are, the impact of making assumptions based on the way someone appear can lead to discrimination, can lead to that person missing opportunities, can lead to that person lack of promotion. And so when you're making assumptions based on how someone appear, those are the impact and the effect that it can have on that individual. And especially if you are in a decision making role where you may be in HR, where you part of the hiring team, where you may be looking at hiring someone, and your own internal beliefs about how this person is showing up conflicts with what you think is right, can impact you making that decision to hire that person or to give that person a promotion, right? And some assumptions that women face, and I'm just going to go through a couple of them with you. For Black women, there's this assumption that we are aggressive, we're angry, we're our appearance is not professional because it doesn't meet the ideal look of what professional is, right? When we wear our natural hair, we're told that's not professional and we should not wear our hair like that. Or how we dress in terms of, maybe we wear bright nail polish or bright colors. It's like, no, don't wear that, right? All that's an assumption that we make um, about a Black woman based on her appearance, right? That's a box that we put them in. When you think about someone who's an immigrant, the assumptions that some of us make is that, oh, as an immigrant, you lack education, you lack the expertise to do the job, or you may not speak English very well. Like you hear someone's like, oh, I'm not from, I wasn't born in this country, I'm classified as an immigrant, and you're like, automatically, those are some of the assumptions that come to mind. For Asian women, some of the assumptions that come to mind is that, oh, they're submissive, right? And so because they're submissive, they can't be assertive. And so because they can't be assertive, that means they're not going to be good. They're not going to be good leaders. And so an Asian woman who has all the capabilities and qualifications to lead may not be given a leadership role because of that stereotype and assumption based on who she is and her appearance. For Latino women, I often hear this, it's like Latino women are too seductive, they're too loud. That's the stereotype. And so when you're looking to hire someone for your team, or you're looking to do business with your team, do business with someone, or give that person a speaker, you're looking for speakers. It's like, oh, I don't want Latinos because that she's gonna come dressed too seductive, or she's gonna be too loud, or my audience is not gonna like this, or this person is not gonna fit the culture. Those are all the assumptions we make about women of color. And when we make those assumptions, and people are making those assumptions every single day, it impacts us and the opportunities that we're getting. It impacts us being able to get into the boardroom, being able to get into leadership position, being able to you know close the wage gap. It impacts so much. And so I wanted to talk about today, how can you act as a change agent to really dismantle the biases that are impacting women of color, how we show up in the workplace. What does that mean? What does that look like? And how can you become a change agent, a person who's going to, as I said, get into good trouble, be courageous enough to say, I am going to be that change that we need to see in the world. And so the first thing that you can do to become a change agent, to really dismantling image bias, is to recognize your own internal and external beliefs and biases when it comes to how you feel about yourself and how you see others, right? Because the assumptions that I just listed there based on the assumptions we make on, about Black women, about immigrants, about Asian women, about Latinos, we sometimes have those same beliefs. Those beliefs and assumptions that we make is internal, right? Things that we believe about ourselves because of the environment that we grew up in and the belief system and values that we were taught, that if you are a woman of color or you're Asian woman, you're a Black woman, these are some of the things that you shouldn't do. Like, you shouldn't wear your natural hair because then you're gonna be seen as unprofessional. So internally, you've internalized that, and that's a belief that you have, that a Black woman wearing her natural hair is unprofessional. So when you see a Black woman show up in a space wearing her natural hair, you're now judging her expertise. You're now judging her based on your internal beliefs, right? I give you an example. I was recently I was doing a uh, DIBS course, that's diversity, inclusion, and belonging course, and the instructor, who was a white woman, blonde hair, was wearing this really beautiful red suit, you know, came on screen, and she was sharing her story. She was talking about that time where she felt a time when she didn't feel like she belonged, right? And it's like, okay, this sounds interesting because we've all experienced a time that we may not have felt like we belong in a space or belong in a room or in a conversation or whatever is there. And she was telling the story, and part of the story she shared was that she was half Mexican. My internal bias and my internal belief when I heard that could not put the two together, that this white woman with blonde hair and blue eyes did not meet or match what I believe a Mexican to look like. That was my internal belief. Because the stories and the information that I'm taking in is that a Mexican looks this way. And she did not fit that belief that I had. Another example of where my internal belief about someone and how they and what they should look like is, as I said, I grew up in the Caribbean, and there's this belief that when we look at, you hear someone with a Jamaican accent, immediately the picture that comes to mind is a Black person, right? That's the picture. I hear a Jamaican accent, the picture that comes to mind is a Black person. Whenever I hear a white person with a Jamaican accent, it's like, what's happening here? Were you born in Jamaica? You start questioning whether or not the person was born in Jamaica. How come they speak Jamaican? And in some spaces, it's like, no, white people should not be speaking Jamaican or sounding like a Jamaican, right? Because our belief is that a Caribbean Jamaican person is not a white person. And so there's that murky line where we're or bias that we have against what we think a person's nationality, race, and ethnicity. We have one picture based on that. If you're saying that you're Jamaican, that you should look one way. If you're saying that you're Mexican, that you should look one way. And the only way that we can dismantle image bias, especially because women are the ones that are impacted the most, is being able to challenge our own beliefs as to how we see things, how we see someone, and what we think is professional. And so, giving those two examples, I had to challenge my own belief. In that moment, when I looked at the instructor, I had to take a moment to sit with, why is it I thought, or why is it I'm thinking that, or I'm questioning rather, this person saying to me that she's half Mexican. Why am I questioning that? And then looking at, had I been in a position of authority, a decision making position in a company, and I was holding, like I hold on to that belief, like this, no, you are not classified as Mexican because you do not look like a Mexican. So whatever position I was hiring for, whatever decision I was making, and I held on to that belief, would have led to this woman not being able to get that opportunity because of my own belief. So there's the external, being aware of our internal belief, our own internal belief as to how we see things. And also our external belief as to what we think a person based on their race, nationality, or ethnicity should look, act, or sound. Being aware of our own beliefs and biases when it comes to how we see our own people, right? My sister has this for personal preference on nail color. She's, nope, I don't think nails should have colors on it. Like she will get her nails done and it would always be like a French manicure or just nude, something like matches her skin color, because she's of the belief that we should not be, walking around with color nails. And so whenever she sees me with my nails like this, it's like, why are you doing, why is your nail pink? Why are you walking around with pink nails? Like that is so tacky. Like, and she'll, have these comments that she'll make about my nails. Now let's think about my sister with that belief being in a position where she's hiring or promoting or making decisions on who will get the job, who will get the opportunity. And someone walks into her office or on that interview, on that call, wearing pink nails. Because of her internal belief, seeing someone with pink nails is going to cloud her judgment. Well, hope, is going to cloud her judgment. And then we hope in the process, like she's not going to use her internal beliefs to pass judgment on someone. But that's what image bias is. When we take our own beliefs and allow it to impact others, right? The other internal belief, external belief that we may have is when it comes to body type, right? We think a certain body type, if you have a certain body type, you're seen as more beautiful, or you're seen as sexy, or you're seen as someone who just have a lot of confidence, or we judge people on their body type. We think as, for me, I'm super petite, I'm super thin, and there's that belief for me. It's like, oh, if I see someone, a little overweight, there's that side of me going, oh, but you could have been thinner, or like those are things that I battle with internally, knowing that my body size is not the ideal body size. And then I get it on the other side where people are assuming that, or saying that, oh, I wish I had your body because your body size is just perfect. It's like, no, it's not. And so we make judgments on that. And we make judgments based on, when we think about body size, it's like, oh, that's, if you are a plus size woman, you shouldn't wear this. Or if you are a petite, skinny woman, you shouldn't wear this, or this is not professional based on your body type. We make those snap judgments. And women are the ones that feel the impact of that. So that's the first thing. How do you step into use your authenticity, step into action, and really dismantle image bias for women in the workplace and in the world? The first thing is become aware of your own internal and external biases that you have. The second thing, to really disrupt that, to really change that, we have to change how we see ourselves and how we show up. And this is where I get to that work with women in terms of changing the mindset on how they feel about what they wear, around their body type, what it means to look professional. What does that professional attire looks like? And to really show up as their authentic self, have an image and style that reflects them. I was watching this interview by Anna Wintour for Vogue magazine, and the question was asked to her, what to wear to an interview, right? That's a question a lot of job seekers are asking right now. That's a question HR is asking right now, or staffing agencies, like, what do we advise our clients to wear to interview, and what do we wear to an interview? Because of course the professional dress code has changed, because we've spent so much time working from home and COVID and all of that. What does that look like? And she said that, which was interesting for me, how she answered the question. What she said is like, whenever someone shows up for an interview, it always looks like they are wearing something that they purchased the night before or the morning of their interview. And so they show up and you can immediately see that this is not who they are, right? Like, they're wearing clothes or wearing an outfit based on what they think they should wear, as opposed to showing up as themselves, right? And the question for you, or challenge maybe for you, like, what does that look like? Because the belief and the bias is, to look professional, you have to wear that black and white uniform. You have to, wear that Ann Taylor suit. If you opt for colors, like, ooh, no, you're stepping out of the norm. You're stepping out of that professional look. But I like the way Anna Wintour answered that question, because when you step into that space, yes, they're not hiring the clothes that you're wearing. Yes, your clothes is not going to do the work for you. Who they're hiring is someone who is confident in who they are, right? She even went on to share this example of this person that walked in wearing a dress, and I think she used his pronouns, as she said, him, his being the pronoun that the person was using, and wore a dress and came in with a bag and ice. But she immediately hired that person, because what it was saying to her, I am bringing my full and authentic self to this space. This is who I am. And I know the challenge is, the workplace not every workplace is equipped to handle or embrace someone for who they are. And that's the work that we have to do, not just as individuals, but on the corporate level, is being able to create spaces where everyone can bring and be their authentic self without fear of judgment or persecution. Right? So I want you to think about, when you are becoming a change agent, like, what are some ways that you aren't showing up as yourself? Are you someone who really, really, really want to wear your natural hair, really want to update your social media profile, with your headshot and your natural hair, but that internal belief match with that external belief as to how you should show up is stopping you from being yourself? Are you opting for that black and white suit whenever you have an interview, or whenever you're going for a speaking engagement, you're like, I need to wear that black, I need to blend in, I don't want to stand out, I'm not going to do that. Like, what are some ways when it comes to your appearance that you're holding back from showing up as your true and authentic self? Because the only way to really dismantle image bias, to really become a change agent, is to be aware of your own external and internal biases, and to activate by disrupting your belief. Become clear as to how you're holding yourself back, and ways in which you are going, an action that you're going to take to step into your authentic self. Right? Because once you identify those ways that you can step into your authentic self, and then you take the action that's necessary, whether or not that's going through your wardrobe and removing all the black that's in your wardrobe because you thought that you had to wear black to be seen as professional. Or maybe it's putting in the braids in your hair after, wearing the braids after your vacation into the workplace. Or maybe it's not censoring the way you speak because you have an accent and you fear that no one would understand you, or you fear someone will tell you, oh, that's not how we say it, or that's, it's difficult to understand your accent. Or maybe you're changing your name because you don't want to deal with your name being mispronounced. You have to actively embrace every aspect of who you are in order to become a change agent, to really breaking up image bias. Because once you are able to become aware of it, activate by taking action, by embracing yourself, then you become an advocate. You can advocate and create the changes that we need to see in the workplace if you're not comfortable in who you are, if you're not confident in who you are. It's the only way to change it. You have to change the way you see yourself. You have to change the way you show up as yourself. Because once you are comfortable, once you are confident, then you're able to say, whenever you see, a colleague is making, or hear a colleague is making comments based on, someone's hair, or someone's appearance, like, ooh, she should not wear that, or ooh, I would never wear that, or ooh, like those type of comments. Or they're making comments like, back in my day, when women showed up in the workplace, they weren't wearing all these colors and their natural hair, and they weren't doing all these things. That's bias. And someone who's making that comment is making decisions based on those comments. And so you have to know, because you're confident in who you are, because you've made the changes to step into your authentic self, to show up as your authentic self, you are now able to say, wait a minute, no, 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 no. I don't think what you just said is right. Or I don't think that you should base your make snap judgments based on someone's appearance. Right? You become an ally, you become a voice, because there's still so many women in spaces who are shrinking to fit, conforming. But if you can show up, if you can advocate on their behalf, if you can show them what's possible by being yourself and embracing yourself and advocating for them, that will give them the power to create the change that they need. And that's one of the things I love about the work that I do, is because I get to, every woman that I work with is a woman that's going out in the world and changing the world view, or changing the narrative of how the world sees us as women and as women of color. I get to do that work, and I'm truly, truly blessed to be able to do that. If we haven't worked together as yet, and you're looking to work in your personal style, your image to really align it with you, then of course message me. But if you're like, if you're not quite there as yet, but you want to start doing some groundwork, this is how you do it. This is how you create the change. Because if you don't create the change, if you don't change how you show up, if we, I'm including myself, don't change how we show up, the world will only see us one way, or continue to see us one way, which means that we as women will continue to lose opportunities, will not get the promotion, will not advance in the workplace, will not be able to close that wage gap, will not, like, all the things that we're trying to accomplish collectively and individually, we have to show up, right? Because when each of us show up, we have the power to influence change. This is me. This is my authenticity in action, because I am showing up as me. I am taking control of my narrative and how I want to be seen, but understanding that I still need to work on my own internal and external biases and beliefs that I have. It takes work. It takes awareness to know that you have them. And it takes courage to then do the work, create the changes that we need to see in the world. For me, authenticity in action is about creating and holding space for women of color, for women to bring and be their most authentic self in the workplace, in the boardroom, and beyond. And we cannot accomplish that unless we stop normalizing image bias, appearance bias, race bias, ageism. Like, we have to dismantle that simply by stepping into our authentic self and owning our authentic self. And so I want to challenge you. I want to leave you with a little bit of challenge. If you got anything from this conversation was insightful, if this conversation really open your worldview or your view as to how not only you see yourself, but also how you see others, and some of your own limiting beliefs and internal and external beliefs that you may have, that's impacting the way you're showing up and impacting the way you see others. I really want to challenge you to make a list. Write it down. Like, what are some of my internal beliefs around Black women or myself, or around women or women of color? Like, what are some of my own internal beliefs? What are some action that I can take around these beliefs that I have? And what are some actions that I can take in changing how I'm showing up? Right? So that's what I want to challenge you to do today, to start doing, so that we can have the workplace that feels and looks like us as women, that support us, that see us, encourage and empower us. I see I have some friends in the chat. I want to say thank you very much to Amber for joining, Rhonda for joining. I truly appreciate you all being here. Whenever you're here live, as I said, I appreciate seeing the comments. It always gives me like the energy to, the excitement, and I feel like, yeah, somebody's in the chat with me. So thank you for being here. I know it's amazing. If we haven't connected as yet, you're here on LinkedIn, then I encourage you to hit that follow button, hit that connect button, send me a message. Let me know what are your takeaways from today. Even like, what are some other conversations that you would like me to have? Until next time, remember that representation is not just you being in the room or having a seat at the table, but it's also how you show up. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.